edition of Cruising with AB. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. Today we're going to talk about work ethics. How do you get them? Where do they come from? Well, in my time, I started out like everybody does, doing their normal little chores around the house, keeping your room clean. My parents didn't give us any kind of allowance for doing those kind of things. It was just something that you were expected to do. Help out around the house, help with the yard work, help with the dishes. And my dad, he worked his butt off, but he didn't make a lot of money. I mean, he had a great job. Don't get me wrong, he had a great job. But as a kid, he didn't make a lot of money. We had clothes on our backs, we had food in our bellies, and that's all. That's great. They did a great job. And Mom was a school teacher, but couldn't teach, decided not to teach, decided to raise a family, so that's what she did. And me, once I got a little older, wanted some things in my life, I decided, well, shoot, man, I need to try to make some money. So my dad wouldn't let me have a paper route because he knew what that was all about. He had one when he was a kid, and it was a real pain in the butt. I really wanted a paper route. I really did. I wanted that thing so bad. Look, you probably make more money if you just take the lawnmower and go walk up and down the street with it and knock on people's doors and ask them if you can cut their grass. Do it cheap. And that way they keep you coming back. Do a good job, do it cheap, do a good job, and maybe a little later you can raise your price a little bit. No, that sounds like a great idea. And so that's what I did when I was a kid. And I don't really remember when I started. I know it was in, I don't know the exact grade I was in, but I know I was in elementary school doing that, especially during the summertime. And then in the wintertime, I'd go around with a rake and a bag full of trash bags, and I would go rake people's yards. Actually, I think that was harder work than cutting grass, to be honest with you. But that's what I did as a kid, all the way up from elementary school through middle school. Then I got into high school and I got a car. Man, what a game changer that was. No more dragging the lawnmower around behind my bicycle or pushing it up and down the street. So now but I had another expense. I had fuel. I was driving the family car. Didn't have my own car. But I was able to do the jobs that I already had, and then some. I'd probably, do 2 or 3 yards a day if I really tried hard. And so I did that. I had my yard business. Freshman year in high school, I met a buddy of mine, and I started doing yards together. So we were a team now. We kind of had we didn't do all my jobs, but we teamed up on some bigger jobs that we had. And we made some money. One of our yards that we cut was a gentleman that owned a ranch in Bernie, Texas. And he had like 400 acres up there. So we were already tilling his garden and raking his leaves and cutting his grass and doing odds and end things around his house. And so one day he decided that he was going to have us come out and work on his property. And so he had a big flatbed tractor trailer full of hay that he wanted put in his barn. So that was the very first job we did. We unloaded that whole 18-wheeler full of hay and put it in his barn for him. And to be quite honest with you, he didn't really pay us that well to do that. It was we were kind of disappointed after that day. Wow, really? This is all you're going to pay us? But we didn't say that. We just knew that if we didn't want to lose that customer. And so it went on, and we would go out there to his ranch and we'd fix his fences and whatever he needed done out there. And one of the little bonuses that he gave us was letting us go out and hunt on his property. And so that was really nice because, shoot, I'd come home and I'd bring home a deer for my family. And man, we had meat in the freezer for a long time. I had a brother and two other sisters and my mom and my dad, and they were happy. They were just asking me, when are you going to go up there again and get another deer? And so that went on for years, all the way through high school. I was working on that guy's ranch, and he had a friend who had a ranch. We would go work on his ranch. Still had my lawn business. And then I was come to be a senior in high school. I had enough credits to graduate. And I decided that I was going to take this work program that they had that was called ICT, Industrial Cooperative Training is what it was called. And what you did is you went to school for half a day with your regular academic classes, and then the second half of the day you went out to a real job somewhere. So it was like a work program. Like I said, I had enough credits to graduate, so that wasn't a problem. But this class was really interesting. They taught you life skills. I mean, there was a grade one time on how to introduce yourself to somebody. You stand up in front of them, you look them in the eye, you stick out your hand, and you know, hello, my name is so-and-so, and nice to meet you. I taught you how to tie a tie, how to do your taxes. So it was a good class, but one of the requirements is that you had to get a job and you had to keep it throughout the school year, and the teacher would actually do spot checks, and he would go out and go to your job at some point during the year. He'd probably go out maybe 2 or 3 times, make sure you're still employed and not just going home and doing nothing. But that was a good class, and I'm not sure if they still have stuff like that in high school these days. I know they have construction trades and plumbing trades and stuff like that, but this was I mean, if you're not planning on, and I had no plans of going to college at that time. I never did go to college, so I guess I went to the School of Hard Knocks. And if you're gonna be in a trade, and you know that maybe your parents couldn't afford to send you to college, or that just wasn't for you, school wasn't for you, and that was a class to be in. And I tell you, I was a carpenter when I was in that class. We did room additions and remodeling. We built decks and gazebos, and we only built 2 custom homes when I was there. But everything that we did was cut. There was nothing that was prefabricated. have never installed a prefabricated roofing truss or joists in my life. Everything we did was cut from a pile of wood. I mean, that's a trade that has afforded me the skills to do things throughout my life that I would have normally had to pay for, or somebody, pay somebody else to come out there and do it. So a trade is something that can't be taken away from you. You'll know that for life. To this day, I think back, and that was probably some of the funnest times I ever had working, was doing that job. I mean, what job could you go to wearing shorts and a t-shirt and tennis shoes and have a good time? These days, it's not like that anymore. But that was what this cruising with AB was about. Just, we weren't stuck in front of the TV with video games. I don't know, on our phones, because we didn't have phones. Didn't have Facebook and all of that jazz. I think that it's really hard to find skilled labor these days to do the jobs that need to be done. It's either that or, from what I've seen, people want more money than they're worth. Prove yourself first. Money will come. I got into air conditioning. I live in South Texas. I knew that was the heat was never going to go away. So there was always going to be a demand for heating. I mean, for air conditioning. Not so much heating. I mean, it does get cold in the winter sometimes, but it's mostly in the summer where that's our bread and butter right there. But let me know if you think the same way. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling on. I'm going to let you guys go. See ya.